Yo, yo. One other message that I want to transmit about the coronavirus situation is just to reiterate that there are no simple answers here. I've gone deep enough down enough rabbit holes from many wise and brilliant people to have a really deep sense that there's a lot going on here, a lot of moving pieces, and the situation simply is not as simple as a lot of the standard narratives want to make it out to be. The mind really wants to latch on to a simple narrative with some kind of clear directive and some kind of black and white model of, oh no, this is the safe way to go to save lives, and anything else is bullshit and conspiracy. And this is very comforting for the mind to have a very clear kind of dualistic us versus them paradigm to operate within. But I'm really here to tell you that it's just straight up not that simple. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot to consider. So I highly recommend opening yourself to the possibility that you don't truly know what's going on, because none of us do, and actually just continuing to remain open to signals wherever they may come from, and really remain open to what you feel in your body and your intuition about what is happening. Listen to the voice within yourself. Really feel into the sweeping changes and lockdowns that have been happening on the planet. Look at some of the more troubling manifestations of this pattern of lockdown and control. Look at how we live in a culture that pathologically fears death and pathologically tries to control, dominate, and conquer nature. And look at how that pathology is showing up in our cultural response to this pandemic. Feel deeply into ways in which levels of freedom have been eroded and restricted in the midst of all this, and feel into the way in which the erosion of freedoms historically has often been a slippery slope leading to quite dystopian states of affairs. Realize that things that often look fairly innocuous and fairly easy to shrug off in the beginning can often historically avalanche and slide into much worse situations. Just realize those things and feel into those things, and absolutely have compassion for all, empathize with what is happening. It's certainly a terrible tragedy that many people are becoming sick and are dying, though at the same time realize that millions of people die on this planet every year of disease. About 10 or 15 million humans die on Earth every year of poverty and preventable disease, and we don't typically lock down the entire world or initiate a second Great Depression in order to try to change those states of affairs. There's something really heartening here about seeing a live demonstration of how we can actually course correct and shift gears quite rapidly if we want to, and it would be wonderful to see us shift gears in certain ways to create a more omni-considerate new paradigm civilization where we eliminate extreme poverty and we eliminate a lot of the worst conditions in which human beings find themselves. So it's worth considering what challenges could we actually solve relatively quickly if we all wanted to, and we are simply not choosing on a collective level to solve. But it's also just really worth asking yourself, is this mass sweeping quarantine lockdown situation really definitively the best way to approach this situation? Would we have been better off simply doing something more like Sweden and encouraging vulnerable populations to self-isolate and then continuing on with relatively normal state of affairs apart from that, so as not to spread fear and panic and scare the shit out of people and jolt culture in a direction much more toward a more paranoid, reactive, locked down, hyper-sterilized form of culture? You know, these are really not easy questions. These questions really deserve earnest attention and deserve philosophical humility. Don't simply believe what any external authority is telling you, regardless of their credentials. Weigh everything against your own intuition, your own soul. Research many different wise and brilliant people who are taking different positions. Listen to the voice within yourself. There's a lot more I could say, but that is the essence of how I feel about what is happening. On the deepest level, I trust what is happening because I trust nature. I perceive that we're not living in a dead, dumb, accidental, chaotic universe. Rather, I perceive a living, breathing universe that is absolutely permeated with an infinite intelligence that far outstrips the linear, rational monkey mind. And I see that my true nature and your true nature is not separate from this infinite intelligence. And so on the deepest level, I trust this intelligence and I trust myself. I trust my true nature. I see that on the deepest level, we are choosing and creating this. And I trust the intentions and the guidance of our deepest nature, of the deep down, infinite intelligence that permeates all things. So, to me it seems we're in the midst of a profound disruption, wake-up call, rite of passage. A sacred mirror is being held up to really bring a lot of stuff to the surface, show us who we've been, where we are, where we might go. It feels like we're being summoned at this point in history to level up as a species into a new paradigm of consciousness, a new paradigm of civilization that is rooted in unity consciousness, that is rooted in the realization that we are not separate from each other and not separate from this earth and not separate from this beautiful infinite cosmos. So that's the essence. Thank you for listening. Peace and love. I will see you around the next bend in the river. Peace out, my friends.